YouTuber The Green Nalima composed this great video which is purposed to understanding female psychology. I'm sure that for her sake, she has done this to capitalize on the gender war conversation that has been pervading our society. But in my view, I think these types of conversations are necessary from a general standpoint as a means to understand why we organize our societies in the ways that we have for millennia. One thing that is absolutely essential about the human experience is that we learn and understand the reasons for things, especially things that are as fundamental as the dynamics between the sexes. And surely, there has been more than enough experience by men and women of times past that dictate why women do not deserve or need rights or acknowledgement in any formal manner, and why men and women alike should be prepared for the respective archetypes of humanity. Although human beings are nuanced in their individual representations because material and its relevance are contextual, the spirit, which is intangible and thus higher upon the hierarchy because it is more in line with the universal, is cyclical. Thus, as much as we can get into the weeds with the particulars of context, we should also be abreast of the origins, the platforms which have brought those things the potential for their revelation as far as we can go. These are called etiologies. Nalima starts with a relevant question to begin her monologue. How many men believe that it is possible for a man to exist without a lady in his life? She uses this question to let men know that men who are desirable to women are men who embody the spirit that they do not care for her. This has been said in numerous ways by women and manosphere types alike. But what Nalima is getting to is a deeply rooted attitude that has been cultivated inside of women by their upbringing and culture. Nalima asserts that it is less important to understand that men don't need women. It is more important to understand that women don't want to feel needed. They don't want to feel validated that they are what they are presenting themselves to be. Their entire lives have been predicated off of the idea that they are beautiful, precious, irresistible, and worthy of eternal security and protection. Therefore, they have had the ability to fortify and secure themselves physically, not in terms of brawn, but in terms of their physical representation, and thus have been able to focus more on the psychological aspects of life. As an example, she uses the proliferation of advertisements that feature, as advertisements, the display of the female human body. She admits that women have already more than accepted that, to society, they have the capacity to be objects for people's enjoyment, not only for intangible purposes like lust or emotions, but also for tangible purposes like money and other material exchanges. Because of this, women have set for themselves a precedent that they are commodities. It is critical that we highlight the phrasing I have used, which is that they have set for themselves a precedent that they are commodities, because they leave no room, if any, for the possibility that they are not commodities. This is the baseline precedent for a woman's attitude toward her life, and the woman's life in general. This is a pitiful condition, not because they are worthy of pity, but because men at a baseline do not look at life from the perspective of a commodity. Therefore, at a baseline, men generally are not looking at women as if they are objects or commodities. However, because women are settled and comfortable in their position as commodities, they are not willing to relinquish their position or consider it any other way. Someone or something or simply their nature is what convinces them that they are nothing more to society than objects to be contorted and manipulated for society's use. It is not difficult to ponder what types of things have contributed to the woman's baseline of what she is to society, but what I most want to highlight is the realm in which Nalima remains in, which is the physical realm. Women do not face physical repercussions for their mistakes, no matter how severe. They are protected in every way from the capacities of the physical world, to be humbled by it. Therefore, to a strong degree, they feel impervious to the idea that they will face real physical consequences for anything they have to face. They feel that they should only be prepared to deal with things from a psychological standpoint, which is a realm that they can always leverage because that is the only area they are bound to really live in. This perspective, combined with the more formal empowerment of women, their invincibility and their worship, at the overt cost of men, has in turn manifested a more psychological world but that still remains with much of the same physical consequences left to men for making mistakes at their instituted level of interpretation. This does not remove from them, though, the fact that they do experience the world with men, and they witness the nuances and extremes of consequences, that they, women, tend not to feel such consequences even for the same actions. That is, that their society lacks integrity in their favor. Psychologically, this of course would warrant such individuals to have a curiosity for why things work this way, if not how they can come to reap their own benefits from it as far as they can push it. Key phrase, as far as they can push it. This type of behavior directly correlates with aspects of the psychoanalytic theory of the death drive, contributed by Sigmund Freud, Sabina Spielrein, Lacan, Melanie Klein, Wilhelm Steckel, and Paul Federn, and also spoken about in the Bible. Isn't it amusing that one of Sigmund Freud's greatest mistakes is believing that the natural course of mental events is automatically regulated by the pleasure principle? Would you consider it to be more amusing that raising our children to believe that they are impervious to consequences in a society where they can witness that consequences are served makes them desirous of such consequences? I speak of these things in the Chaos chapter of my book Judgment Day, but here we are also in the flesh, having a woman gracefully explain to us the psychology of women as a means to educate and prepare men for any modicum of success with their sexual counterpart. Her beginning axiom says plainly, this is not a fight worthy of fighting. Why? Even the likes of Sigmund Freud have determined that these are demonic, evil types of people who are not worthy of even sharing in the presence of people who do appreciate life and want to bring it forth. Female psychology, especially offered in the way that Nalima is presenting, is degenerative. And thus, men, if we have any hope in carrying our legacies, then women and the psychological realm must be subdued to the gravity of their mortality, which is physical. Nalima also speaks of things that men should never tell women. She says that men should never tell women how much money they make, and they should also never tell them their expectations. She says that the reason why men should never tell women how many resources they have is because she will label him in a specific way and assume the position to abuse him for his resources. This is an interesting thing to say, because she is positing that, in effect of her lamenting the objectification of themselves, women objectify men because of their attempts to impress them or hold their interest. Now, don't get me wrong. There are those insecure men who will never hearken to the true reality of what she has stated here, and they are worthy of being enslaved. But it should not be perverted that at the root of the problem is the disingenuous nature by which the woman operates in the world, and particularly how she perverts the environment with her meddling in the psychological realm. Nalima says that by sharing with a woman the extent of your physical resources, it gives her a specific measurement of your value, and she will use this value as an illusion to create a lot of conflicts and misunderstandings. She follows this by saying, most of the time we do things because we fear losing the known. What is the known? The pleasure, the Hannah that we don't want to lose. You are doing it because you expect something in return. That is your condition. These are the extents to which women will go to try to teach men lessons about how much they hate themselves. In some respects, I wonder how many of these cases are so because women actually feel forced to be in the relationship and the guy just refuses to take the hint, versus how many of these cases are so because women use it as an opportunity to cultivate the most diabolical bitch out that they can. Further, Nalima signifies that anything a man shares with a woman about his conditioning, she literally says, albeit physical, spiritual, or psychological, means that he is conforming to a specific system, so it equals to her having an expectation that you can also conform to her system. She uses the following example. We must do this because doing this delivers to some people respecting us and these specific things that exist in real life, specific events. They must happen because doing that delivers a specific respect from other people. Do you mean like shareholders in a business? Do you mean like God? Do you mean like a foundation of integrity? Nalima says, now that lady knows that that is your condition. And when she knows that that is your condition, she knows that psychologically the society has full control over you. And if it has full control over you, she can have control over your psychological world by also coming up with conditions and illusions that will make sense in your physical world so that you can also follow that world, condition, and belief. She offers as advice for this to do things just because you feel like doing them and that you want to just experience how things go as opposed to attaching meanings to them. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't stress enough how much of a duty the woman makes it to psychoanalyze men in order to weaponize himself against himself. This is a wicked work, because as I have already illustrated, she has no issue with ripping a man from his principles, integrity, his very being, all because she wants to show him that she doesn't respect it. If this woman can illustrate this so plainly in this time, imagine how much wisdom and knowledge has been accumulated over time that has also discussed these things and thus have been the reason why our civilizations have repeatedly neglected to give women certain formal acknowledgments. Even the entire outward notion of women's empowerment is a hindrance to the advancement of society because, by the psychology of women as demonstrated by Nalima, it equates to the disempowerment of men. How many women who think in this thread contradict themselves in the fact that they are constantly comparing themselves to other people and refuse to break away from their envious tendencies, but place themselves in the position to try to humble a man by weaponizing his principles against him? What is the true hell? That a woman lacks the guidance to assume her natural role in the universe and be directed to a good man so that she may be at peace, and that men, through the empowerment of these lost women, have been losing themselves, their dignity, their integrity. It is the fact that we have allowed our culture to celebrate and reward whoredom, that whoredom has proliferated our environments and become the precedent in our society. It is for the reasons that I have given above that I believe that if we do not do something quickly about the overwhelming lack of examples of what it looks like to be a person of integrity, a person who loves life and cares for others, this being in the form of speaking out against that which we do and do not accept in our society, subduing women, having children, and uplifting the values and principles of what it means to be a meaningful and appreciated contributor to society, then we will see the end of this civilization as we know it. Surely, the way that we can see that our civilization is being represented is in a disgraceful and degenerative way. We have already found the root of the problem, so let us begin operating in the ways that breathe life back into our communities and push us forward. Those with ears, let them hear. I will leave Nalima's video in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe what you liked about this video. And I will see you guys in the next one.
Got them tangled like Miss Pinkersmith. We can catch a vibe with the violence and getting big. You should have pride, individuals, distinctiveness. Where we draw the line when you switch because you envious. Fuck about effeminate. This shit is ridiculous. This the flow that conquers college.